this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. We continue to see impressive strength from XRP. It's currently at 54 cents. It's now been a good week and a half since the SEC let it be known publicly that they are indeed appealing the Judge Torres ruling in the SEC v. Ripple case. Again, the market just doesn't give a damn. And you know who extra doesn't give a damn? It's them splishy splashy whales getting aquatic AF. Oh, that's right. The whales have been purchasing a lot of XRP recently. And it's fascinating to note that it's not just XRP that's getting purchased by lots of whales. And so, as I've pointed out a few times in recent weeks, either we're going to have a crazy move to the upside where we finally do see this euphoria and a blow-off top, which is something that you typically expect to see in a crypto cycle, or for the first time that doesn't happen, and for the first time, the whales get wrong-footed. And the emotional lemming retail speculators, they're the ones that outdid the whales. Is that the most likely outcome, though? I don't think so. So we'll find out what happens together, but I'm optimistic. And so that's one thing. Obviously, whales see potential in XRP, and the market agrees that XRP deserves to be here, still in the top 10 coins by market cap for its entire existence, over a decade. And then we have perspective from... I want to share a perspective from one chart analyst in particular, XRP specific, and he's highlighting rationale for why it's reasonable to believe that you're going to see double-digit price for XRP this market cycle. And so while I'll never make a price prediction because I'm not a chart guy, so it would be disingenuous if I did it, I will say I do not find that remotely crazy. And sometimes even I wonder, if you're talking about $10, which is obviously the lowest double-digit number there is, I wonder sometimes if that's too conservative. And I don't have the answer, but it's reasonable to think that based on historic precedent in terms of price action for cryptos. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. So, like I said, XRP just over 54 cents. Bitcoin has been leading the way. Happy to see that. It's at $63,245. You got the crypto fear and greed index at 49 out of 100. So we're out of fear. We're feeling neutral. So not greed yet, but mark my words, at some unknown point in the future, we will be back into greed and extreme greed in the crypto market, and I'm going to be here for it. And I will have my crypto exposure at the moment that happens. I firmly believe, with a 99.99999% chance, that at some unknown point in the future, yes, we're going to see that. Now, given the cyclical nature of things and how global liquidity causes the stock market and crypto to bump roughly every 4 years, I'm thinking we're pretty much there. That's my for fun guess. And the whales are behaving in such a way that, historically, this has indicated they think things are, number go up situation. Like, that's what they're thinking. Here's a headline from the Crypto Basic. Bitcoin whales have amassed $90 billion in Bitcoin since May. So think about this. As we've been mostly trending down a little bit sideways, but down for, over half a year at this point. The splishy splashy whales, what were they doing? You know what they were doing. They were getting aquatic AF. Purchasing your fear underwater. That's exactly what they've been doing. $90 billion in Bitcoin since May. While all sorts of people are freaking out. Now, I wasn't freaking out. I just have exposure because I think the crypto pie just gets bigger over time. But this doesn't faze me in the least. I've been in this almost 7 years. I'd say I'm battle tested at this point. But the Bitcoin whales feel similarly. So check this out. Bitcoin whales procure more than $90 billion worth of Bitcoin tokens over a 6-month period, despite the range-bound movements in the market. This is according to a disclosure today from CryptoQuant author Axel Adler Jr., The analyst confirmed that since May of 2024, Bitcoin whales, investors holding over 1,000 Bitcoin, have dramatically increased their holdings. Within the past 6 months, they accumulated about 1.5 million Bitcoin. This amount represents a massive inflow of capital into Bitcoin, totaling around $90 billion, based on an average price of $60,000. However, these tokens came from weaker hands who have been selling at a loss. Oh, did the poor widow baby get to scale and sell the Bitcoin at a loss? Oh, poor widow, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, maybe quit making important financial decisions with your feels. Just a little friendly suggestion. You do you, though, girl. Girl, you do what you want. You do what you want. You get fearful. You want to, girl, you do you. I'm just telling you that data shows that it's best to just buy stuff and then hold. That's the method that works for the everyday person. Just broadly, if you have broad exposure, there's not a guarantee in anything. It doesn't mean that if you do that, there's no risk. Of course not. But, if you invested with that general method in the stock market and crypto, history shows you do pretty well. If you focus on the short-term stuff, you freak out and you panic sell. That is what's happening. And then the smarter money, they purchase that. This is the reason. So the whales are the whales because, not exclusively, but almost always, they make smarter financial decisions. They behave differently than the typical living retail speculator. Same for XRP whales. More on that in just a second, though. Data from an accompanying chart confirms that these figures suggest a sharp rise in whale activity as the whales in question initially held only 335,000 Bitcoin in early May. Within this period, Bitcoin traded between $60,000 and $65,000. Despite prices largely staying within this range, whales have continued to increase their holdings steadily. Now, 6 months later, these holders possess around 1.9 million Bitcoin, indicating confidence among high net worth investors despite Bitcoin's recent price fluctuations. My friends, tale as old as time, but they don't just act like that with Bitcoin. They also act like that with XRP. Here's a post from chart analyst Ali Martinez. If you care to look, there's a chart on your screen. And he noted that XRP whales, and by the way, he posted this in the morning, October 12th. XRP whales have bought over 40 million XRP in the past 48 hours. So that's just more recent price action, and you love to see it. So despite all of the fear from a week and a half ago, although I noticed people shut up about the appeal stuff, I think people have come around and recognized that I was right. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you thought this yourselves, but in which case we are right, that the appeal would not impact in any sort of horrible way the price action for XRP, and it didn't. You had panic selling for 90 minutes. That was it, and then it moved sideways and up. That's what happened with XRP for the next week and a half. It just moved sideways and up. Whereas, with the initial lawsuit, when that dropped, you had panic selling for a straight up week before it bottomed, down like 80%. The market doesn't freaking care about this. And so the whales clearly don't either. So, and on top of that, this is why I've really enjoyed throughout this year highlighting various moments in time, as we've been moving sideways also, where whales have been purchasing XRP. This isn't the first time I've had a report like this. The whales behave differently than the living retail speculators. That's a key takeaway. Okay, you do whatever you want to do. I'm just letting you know that this is how it's always been. Certainly the whole time I've been in crypto. I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. And so when this thing pops, which I think is not a certainty, but a virtual certainty, the only way to do this is to just have exposure if it's going to happen. And I'd say when it happens, even though I don't technically know for sure what's going to happen. I always admit that. I'm always transparent about that. But I have strong conviction that it will happen. And so I'm going to be here. And if I'm wrong, it goes to zero and then I lose everything. So that's the risk. That's true. I don't think that's remotely probable. So I'm here. I've been holding XRP unfazed for almost 7 freaking years at this point. I didn't know there was going to be an SEC attack, or, if I could have magically seen into the future, sure, I would have done stuff different, but it's childish to actually put any serious weight on thoughts like that. I'm aware that that's true, but that doesn't mean anything. Only children would waste time dwelling on something like that, so I hope that you guys aren't. I'm certainly not. Can't control it. There's too much excitement and opportunity here to be dwelling on something like that, honestly. It sucks what happened, but your life doesn't have to be ruined because the SEC is full of a bunch of asshat pricks. And they are. It's a disgusting agency, and those terrible attorneys are spawns of Satan, winged creatures from the depths below. And then they hiss at you. It sounds like this. It's like, tss, tss. That's what they hiss at you, the winged creatures from the depths below. And they sound like, basically it's like geese. They are like geese. They hiss at you, and then they shit all over the sidewalk. That's what these SEC attorneys do. And then you're stepping in it. And then they're hissing at you when they're stepping up. Tss, tss. That's what they do. Freaking terrible. Here's this post from Qiyang Zhu. Now, Qiyang Zhu is a founder and CEO from CryptoQuant, and this is fascinating. I haven't talked about this in a very long time, so I thought I'd highlight this. Bitcoin Google search volume hit a yearly low. Oh, well, isn't that surprising? So you're telling me the typical living retail speculator isn't really interested in looking at Bitcoin right now because it's not going to moon right this very second, but The smart money, the whales, they've been accumulating while nobody else is paying attention. Is that what you're telling? And then it's the same for the XRP whales. They've been accumulating while there's no excitement in the market. Is that what you're telling me? Yes, that's what's happening, folks. That is exactly what's happening. If I'm a betting man, I'm thinking that we have much more excitement before we finally enter a new bear market. I'm willing to bet that the very best part is yet ahead. However long that takes, but it could be Q4. I'll not be surprised if that's the case. A lot of analysts think that, and maybe it does start in Q4 and it bleeds into 2025. Or maybe we're a little bit off, and even if we have some good green months here in Q4, maybe the greatest excitement does start in the beginning part of 2025. Who knows? Either way, we're not that far from it. We're through the worst of this most recent reaccumulation period. That seems pretty obvious. And then take a look at this post. This is from chart analyst Greg Crypto, and he's talking about XRP specifically. So hang with me as I go through this, because he's explaining some stuff, and he articulates why he thinks that it's certainly plausible, including based on historic precedent, to see double-digit XRP this market cycle. So, like I said, I don't know if that's going to happen, but that is not the least bit wacky to me. If we see double-digit price action for XRP this market cycle, I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty much going to be my result. Now, I'll be more excited, of course, but that will pretty much be my reaction. Yeah, of course. That does make sense. And because if we don't, it's just, what kind of weak alt season across the board would we have to have for XRP to not? So if we have a weak alt season and then XRP only goes to like $5, $6, $7, okay. In which case I'll have sold at least probably a big chunk, if not most, of my XRP, because I plan to mostly scale out between $5 to $8 because I have so much XRP that's my plan. I took on more risk up front so that I could sell at a lower price. If I held less, I'd probably be willing to risk a little bit higher prices because I think there's a reasonable chance it could go higher this market cycle, but I don't know. So I just bought more so that I could feel comfortable hitting a particular target that I have in mind that's at a lower XRP price point. But sure, yeah, $10. The amount of money that would have to flow in to get the market cap to go to that degree, to get the price bid up, and then you're talking about from the XRP all-time high, like tripling somewhere in that neighborhood. That's not crazy at all. With that much money being in XRP, there's precedent for that type of thing to have. It has happened with other coins. So that doesn't mean that it will, but that's what I'm saying. Since the asset class moves in tandem, if we have a crazy amount of money flow in, a certain amount's going to go to XRP, and I'll not be surprised to see a big old chunk of that hit XRP. I will not be surprised. Anyway, here's what chart analyst Greg Crypto had to say. XRP linear regression, time and target projections. Linear regression with minus plus one standard deviation forms a channel around the trend line, capturing about 68% of price movements. Here, let me make this first chart full screen for those of you that care to look. It's an XRP USD price chart. And he says, key points about linear regression. Upper band signals overbought conditions. Lower band indicates oversold conditions. Trend spotting helps identify potential reversal points and high probability trades within the range. So for those of you looking at the screen, you probably already gathered what he's talking about here. There's this reddish pinkish line, this line right here, right in the middle. And so when he's talking about the upper band and lower band, that would be the blue bands, the one above and the one below. And so the lower one, again, he says indicates oversold zones. So I will not be surprised to see XRP ultimately pop. Now, of course, if there's some sort of breakdown with Bitcoin XRP, I'll not be surprised to see at least it temporarily deviate to the downside. Bitcoin still has sway. It just does. But if Bitcoin actually is going to continue from this point, I wouldn't be surprised to see it pop sooner than later. Well, we'll find out together. But either way, we're definitely not in overbought conditions. That's for damn sure. And then he says, linear regression is a powerful tool in trading for, number one, identifying trends with a dynamic trend line, 2, pinpointing support and resistance, 3, spotting reversals when prices deviate from the trend line, 4, predicting mean reversion, so pullbacks to the mean reversion, and 5, forecasting future price movements around minus plus standard deviation and mean reversion. And then he notes how mean reversion works. He says, when prices move too far from their average, they are likely to revert to the mean, which is the historical average. So folks, if something's oversold or overbought, just understand it ain't going to stay there forever. Now, I'll argue personally, not to put words in his mouth, but I will argue that XRP has been artificially price suppressed for years because of the SEC nonsense. And thankfully, on top of that, though, it has been coiling for almost 7 years. This thing gonna blow. That's my expectation. But anyway, he continues. Back to XRP linear regression breakdown. Current status, XRP is near the lower end of the -1 standard deviation. B, mean reversion, the pink line, marks where price is expected to return as it reverts back. And C, the upper band, which is +1 standard deviation, the top of the regression channel, representing an overbought region. D, historical context, if XRP shoots above +1 standard deviation, like in 2017, we're talking big potential, right? And so there is precedent for that to happen. It has happened in the past, and to think that it would never happen again is completely silly, which is why even when XRP hit its all-time high, the bubble burst, and I could see shortly after, it's like, oh, that bubble burst could be years until we see a new high for XRP. But my bet, even in early 2018, was that at some unknown point in the future, XRP will hit a new all-time high. Because frankly, it's either that or it goes to zero. It is that simple. One of those two things will happen. XRP eventually one day hits a new all-time high, or it's going to go to zero. It will not stay here ranging like this forever. It cannot, it will not, it ain't going to happen. I strongly believe, especially if you look at the real-world adoption, the growing community, everybody else agrees, obviously. Like, why wouldn't we think that's the more probable thing? Of course. That's absolutely the case. But then he's got here some time and price forecasts, and this is always fun. I like this stuff. So he cites the time. So there's today, and then there's months, and then there's year. And then there's the mean reversion, as he cited. And so for today, that would be $1.85. And in months, $2.40. For year, $3. But what about a +1 standard deviation? And this is where it gets fun. Of course, it gets even more fun than this. But for today, $5.76. Months, $7.31. Year, $9.30. Okay, but check this out. He cites cycle A, which is the run leading, 2017. You guys all know what happened in 2017, even if you weren't there. Cycle A, 180% projection from +1 standard deviation gives us, look, I don't know if it's going to happen, but this is not insane. This stuff happens in crypto, even with, large caps like XRP is, situated similar to XRP. Yes, this stuff happens. So he's got the time column. Time, there's today, 6 months and 1 year. So for today, with a 180% overshoot, and mind you, crypto markets can go crazy, so this is totally reasonable. I would agree that it's reasonable. We'll see if it happens, but I agree it's reasonable. He says today, that would be $16. 6 months, $21. 1 year, $27. And then he says cycle A, 110% projection from +1 standard deviation gives us, for today, $12, 6 months, $26, 1 year, $20. So take it for what it's worth. So what he's doing here, he's not promising you anything, but he is saying, hey, here's some data from the past. Here's a way that you can analyze this. And if you apply past what has happened to the past to and take into account where we are now, this is what the output is. So it's not an outright promise or even necessarily a straight up prediction, but it is based on actual data that has occurred. And I think that's important because history doesn't repeat, but it so frequently rhymes with itself. So I continue to be excited for the future. XRP, since that bubble popped in early 2018, XRP has never been so perfectly situated. The last time it was so perfectly situated was 2017, before it started moving. That's when it was this perfectly situated. And if anything, it's even better situated now because it's got legal clarity. We don't have to worry about that. And there's going to be more money flowing in this cycle, in all likelihood, than what flowed in 2017. So in terms of dollars, absolute dollars, that number is just going to blow 2017 out of the water. That would be my expectation anyway. So we're going to find out together. Let me know how you guys are feeling out there. Like, to me, it just doesn't make logical sense to not be excited. How could you not be excited as an XRP holder? It doesn't compute to me. I understand people like maybe I'm the weirdo. I'm just not feeling emotions and stuff. I understand that there are people that just get impatient and so on and so forth, but man, it just does not compute to me. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.